oh, Blake Lively said she was traumatized on her day set. It's just like, you look like an asshole.
There's a part of me that would like to hear what you think are possible dangers for Baldoni PR wise if this does continue. This is Vanessa Santos of Renegade PR, and she is a major consultant. And Vanessa, I saw this with Depp versus Heard, and I've seen this with some of the other cases that I've covered where people do have a real need online people have a need in general as humans, a sort of tribal need to have an in group and then to have like a common enemy or a common out group, right? And so there is this tribal impulse in people to kind of come together for causes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for someone like Blake Lively, we saw this with Amber Heard, we've seen, and then we're seeing it now with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. When you become the target of that, it is a powerful force and it can really snowball. So that what seemed like when you and I did our first conversation on this, what seemed like still kind of just a 1 or 2 day, maybe 1 week story, just sort of a niche thing, like who even knows who Justin Baldoni is anyway, sort of thing, right? And oh, Blake Lively, I mean, she's not that big of a deal. It has now snowballed, and a lot of that has to do with people forming these communities, a sense, and it's nothing nefarious or whatever. It's just like something that happens organically. It's not the work of PR aces, but everybody wants to have, or people want to have, an enemy that they can really pull together and fight, and they think it's a just cause. And so what someone like Amber Heard did and what someone like Blake Lively has done is by aggressively going after these guys for allegations that it turns out looks to be fake, you have given people a huge like unifying figure to rally against. And that's so powerful. And so that's a lot of what's going on here too, is it's just becoming a community now of people who every day they're logging in, no matter what else is going on in their lives, they're logging in, they want to scroll through, they want to chat with other people for a little while, they want to check out some videos, get into a live stream. I mean, this is it's a big thing, don't you think?
Oh, it's a big thing. And it's funny because I know that Tom Sandoval, I don't think you're a Bravo gal, but Tom Sandoval was one of the people involved in a really big cheating scandal in reality TV last year. And he kind of compared his, 15 minutes of fame because of the cheating scandal to Black Lives Matter or something. And of course he got ripped to shreds for that. But there is a point to, recognizing these like moments of cultural like unity. And
Yes.
And I definitely think that Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, they have entered this level of this cultural moment. So I think it's fascinating. It's definitely fascinating to watch.
There's no option left, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, that you're going to like. But
yes,
but there are ways that to ensure that you're not going to go through extensive, pointless torture, and that's what it's going to be until you settle this. What do you think they are going to do, though?
I mean, I don't know. I think their egos I think Ryan and Blake's egos are just too out of control for them to gracefully try to bow out of this, because it doesn't make them look good, and it's just hurting this. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, the court of public opinion to me has spoken, and this also will probably, be an issue when the trial and everything happens. I don't know exactly, but it's messy. It's shallow. It is extremely shallow. And that's the other thing, like the way for someone like me who works in the news, it's like I'm seeing these insanely serious, horrible, sad things happen. And then it's like, oh, Blake Lively said she was traumatized on her day set by getting her hair and makeup. And it's just like, you look like an asshole. And so I don't know, and she's clearly the aggressor. She's the one who's forcing him to respond. So to me, she's gonna have to bow out, because it just looks bad.
You said something earlier that I wanted to follow up on a little bit, to the extent that you were saying that as long as this continues, both sides beating up on each other. I think basically what you were saying is that there's damage that's being incurred on both sides. And I did want to follow up, even though it seems to me and a lot of other people like Baldoni is clearly winning this PR war and also has a much better legal case so far from what we've seen. There is a part of me that wonders, because you were talking about how this is superficial and it just kind of, the whole thing is kind of, And there's a part of me that wonders or would like to hear what you think are possible dangers for Baldoni PR wise if this does continue, because I think we all see the upsides, which is that he'll continue to be this hero and more people will know who he is, and he'll be like this Depp-like figure, and then he has some kind of a good resolution in court or out of court or whatever, and then he goes on and has a great career, right? So that's the best case scenario. That may be what happens. Where do you see though he could actually step into some shit?
I think his biggest issue is that his entire identity now is tied up in this. I don't think that he had a big enough name to but before this, I don't think a lot of people knew who he was. I think that, you are always like, every time you hear Justin Baldoni, you're going to think he was the one in the Blake Lively thing. And I think that the other younger actresses too, who are involved in this project, like this Isabella Ferrer, whatever her name is, the one who played the young Blake Lively character. I think that this is a problem for a lot of the people associated with this movie, is that, this Blake Lively drama, it's completely going to overshadow everything they're going to do for a while. But I think that at the magnitude of it, which it is right now, I think that Justin's career is already in peril. So, I mean, really, like what we've talked about is he has to fight until the end of this thing. Everything about this is toxic. Nobody wants this on set, and
nobody wants this drama. Yeah.
Like it's just too much drama. And I'm sure Blake is probably going to have issues getting lead parts and everything. Sure, again after this, I'm sure that's going to be an issue. But her relationships, that she's built prior to this are, like she's.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, Justin's just not. He's just not.
It's the less established people who don't have sort of a bedrock in a way to lean against. And so it seems like to me, in Justin's case, he doesn't. A couple of things. You can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't think he should do interviews or put out anything in any way autobiographical until after this whole thing is over. And so I would think his challenge now, and maybe the challenge for Wayfarer Studios, is to find projects for him to, as long as this thing goes on, to create, produce, be involved in, but not be just out there, front of camera. I will say that Justin is lucky, I think, in that he does have such a wealthy guy in his court. And I'm talking to you about Wayfarer Studios because apparently the Steve Sarowitz guy basically created Wayfarer Studios. I know they have investors and stuff too, but created this, I think, to put out spiritual type films and podcasts and stuff that basically promote like spiritual Baha'i ideas. And so that's where a lot of this like masculinity and social justice stuff, even stuff that some of it we wouldn't like, but then also like the domestic violence movie, It Ends With Us and all that. So here's my point, that Justin does have this studio backing him, Wayfarer, and his good friend who's bankrolling this whole thing. And so I think he will continue to have projects in the future. But the question which you brought up here is, in terms of larger public perception, is he able to go mainstream in film or something like that without just being in a way this sort of like associated with this circus sign of, right?
I mean, yeah, I think that he's going to have to get a little bit creative. And, this is a conversation I've had with a couple other clients in entertainment who've struggled, and, just to kind of like get off the beaten path a little bit. But I do think that if you're putting out good art, the like people who value good art will come. I do think that he's going to have to give it like take a break from this, podcast, I'm the Star, Justin Baldoni brand. Work or be a background guy for a minute, but, none of that in between.
I just appreciate having you on. I'll have to have you back. You'll have to come back in another 2 months or whatever. And then we can talk about, do a debriefing on everything that's happened since then. I'm sure we'll be saying the same thing, though. I cannot believe how crazy this is going.
I know. Well, thank you so much for having me. I will come back anytime. You are amazing.
All right. And I'm linked to your stuff below. Everybody should check you out. And of course, if anyone needs some PR help, look up Renegade PR. All right. See you later. Bye-bye. Thank you.